You know that feeling on Sunday night? That slow, creeping dread as the weekend slips through your fingers and the alarm clock starts looming like a storm cloud? Yeah, that's not just stress. That's your inner voice whispering, this can't be all there is. Because here's the truth no one likes to say out loud. The 9 to 5 wasn't designed to make you wealthy, it was designed to make you compliant. In today's episode, we're going to unravel the system that so many people take for granted. We'll look at where the traditional job model came from, why it's broken in today's world, and what the people who escape it know that others don't. This isn't about rage quitting your job, it's about waking up to the game you've been taught to play and deciding if it's the game you still want.
Welcome to the Deep Dive, brought to you by Leap Academy. You know that feeling, right? It hits you, maybe Sunday night.
Yeah.
Your chest gets a bit tight.
Yeah.
You're already thinking about that alarm clock.
It's that little voice.
Mm-hmm. That feeling of, okay, this can't be it. You know, you're working hard, maybe climbing the ladder, but it just doesn't feel like you're building towards, well, real freedom.
Exactly. And what we've been digging into for this deep dive, well, there's a pretty stark truth behind that feeling, isn't there? It's not just you feeling ungrateful or something. The whole system, the 9 to 5, it wasn't actually set up to make you wealthy or give you ultimate freedom.
No, definitely not. It was designed for something totally different. Reliability.
Yeah.
Making you reliable, keeping the wheels turning.
Keeping you showing up, paying your taxes, putting your energy into building, well, someone else's dream, right?
Yeah.
Their company.
And the really wild part is how we've all been sort of conditioned to view that as success. You know, work hard, keep your head down, don't complain, just be grateful for the job, climb that ladder. But what if, and this is really the core question we kept coming back to, what if that ladder you're working so hard to climb, what if it's leaning against the completely wrong wall?
Mm-hmm. And that's what this deep dive is really about, pulling back the curtain. It's not just, a rant about work. It's more a call to really understand the system and then maybe rethink how we use our most valuable asset, our time. We're going to unpack the real story, where the 9 to 5 came from, why it feels so, broken for so many people now, and critically, what the people who manage to step off that path know, what they understand that most others just miss.
So, yeah. If you've ever felt that Sunday dread or felt stuck or just knew deep down you were meant for something more than just kind of surviving between paychecks, this deep dive is definitely for you. Let's get into it.
Okay.
So let's really start at the beginning. Where did this whole system, this 9 to 5 thing we just accept as normal, actually come from? Because it didn't just magically appear, right? It was created, designed.
Absolutely. And it was designed to solve a problem for an era that, let's be honest, looks very different from today. We're talking Industrial Revolution. Late 1800s, early 1900s, factories were the big thing, and they needed a system. Order, predictability, scale, managing lots of people doing the same tasks over and over.
Right. And you hear about figures like Henry Ford, famous for the 8-hour workday. But let's be real, it wasn't purely altruistic, was it? It was incredibly strategic. He needed workers who were productive enough to build the cars, sure, but also rested enough and critically paid just enough that they could turn around and buy the cars they were making.
Exactly. It created this cycle, didn't it? Work, get paid, buy this, maybe the very stuff you helped make, and then repeat. It was this neat closed loop designed for, industrial efficiency and building a consumer base.
And this is so crucial. It was never designed with your personal freedom, your creative potential, or your financial independence outside of that specific employer relationship in mind. That wasn't the goal. The goal was keeping the factories humming and the economy moving in a very particular way.
And here's the kicker, right? The world changed radically. We're not all working on assembly lines anymore. We've got the internet, global connection, totally new ways of creating value. But somehow, the default way most people structure their lives, their energy, their identity even,
still revolves around those fixed hours, often a fixed place, and that fixed paycheck tied to time. Even remote work, for a lot of people, just became a sort of digital 9 to 5, same underlying control.
Yeah, the digital loosh. And we've been really well trained to call this security. It's sold as the sensible, stable, responsible choice.
But when you really look closer, that security often feels, pretty shaky. If your main income relies entirely on the hours you log in, you're trading your most finite resource time directly for money. And that inherently makes you vulnerable, maybe replaceable.
Definitely replaceable. Think about it. A budget cut happens, the market shifts, some new algorithm comes along, a recession hits. Poof! That so-called security can just evaporate literally overnight for some people.
And it's fascinating when you contrast that with what real stability looks like for folks who aren't tied to one job. It seems to come from uh, leverage, from ownership, building things, assets, systems that generate value whether you're physically clocked in or not.
And it's not just about the money, is it? This system, the 9 to 5, it really shapes how we think about ourselves, our worth, our potential. We're taught from such a young age, equate being busy, showing up, with being productive and valuable.
Oh, yeah. Feeling guilty if you're resting, if you're not constantly doing something.
Right. And this idea that working hard, just putting in hours, is somehow morally superior to working smart, finding leverage. We get rewarded for compliance, for following the rules, much more than for challenging things or building something totally new. We're encouraged to become a specialist, a cog in the machine.
Instead of understanding or even trying to build the whole machine yourself.
Exactly. And just think about the pushback people get when they do question it. When they say, maybe I want to try something different, they get called, what?
Yeah.
Unrealistic, irresponsible, selfish even.
Yeah, naive is one I hear a lot. It really makes you stop and think. Who actually benefits the most when you deeply believe that your primary value is just showing up on time and doing exactly what you're told within this box?
It's probably not you, is it? Not the version of you that's craving, more freedom, more impact, the ability to actually shape your own future on your own terms.
Now, just to be clear, this isn't about hating on all jobs. If you've got a 9 to 5 you genuinely love, that feels purposeful, that aligns with your goals, that's amazing. Seriously.
Absolutely.
But the reality for so many people is they didn't actively choose this path from a place of deep alignment. They were kind of guided into it. School, society, family pressure, just being told, look, this is how life works, this is what grown-ups do.
But it's not the only way. And I think the moment you grasp that this system was intentionally designed for a specific purpose that might not serve you anymore, that's when you get your power back. You get to decide, do I keep playing by these rules or do I start building something that actually works for me?
Okay, let's pivot slightly here, because something that really stood out in our research for this deep dive was that escaping this trap, it's less about the perfect business plan, isn't it? It's much more about what's going on up here.
Oh, absolutely. The mindset piece is huge. The real chains for most people aren't really the external circumstances. They're psychological. They're in your head.
People often stay put, not because they genuinely love the comfort, but maybe because they've been subtly, deeply trained to fear the alternative, to fear freedom, actually, and the uncertainty that comes with forging your own way.
Think about it, going way back. School rewards, structure, punctuality, following instructions, fitting in. If you deviate, if you color outside the lines, you're often labeled a problem, right?
Not creative or entrepreneurial, just difficult.
Exactly. And that programming, that conditioning, it runs really deep. It becomes like our default operating system as adults without us even realizing it.
And the trap is so sneaky. It's that little voice, that daily whisper, ugh, I don't love this job, but hey, the paycheck's reliable. Or Mondays are the worst, but the health insurance is good. Or I feel so stuck, but what if I try something new and it's even worse?
And slowly over time, those whispers start to feel like undeniable truth. You stop questioning things. You stop dreaming quite so big. You kind of unconsciously shrink your goals down to fit inside the perceived safety of what you already know.
We label it security, but when you really dissect it, doesn't it often look more like predictable fear?
That's a great way to put it. Predictable fear. And fear is incredibly potent. It can absolutely convince you that settling is the responsible thing to do, that trading, 40 hours a week for 40 years is the sensible adult choice, even if it's slowly draining the life out of you.
But here's a really key distinction that emerged. Fear itself isn't the actual enemy here. It's the unconscious fear. The fear that's hiding in the shadows, pulling the strings without you even realizing it. That's what controls the big decisions, the risks you shy away from, the soul-crushing jobs you stay in, the dreams you kind of suffocate before they even get a chance to breathe.
So we looked at what the analysis suggests are the really big fears, the heavy hitters that keep people cemented in that 9 to 5 structure. And number one, probably the loudest one in most people's heads, what if I fail? Just that sheer terror of putting yourself out there and having it not pan out.
Yeah. And the counter to that, the question that feels much more potent is, what if you don't even try? And life just stays exactly like this. Failure isn't the opposite of success. It's like baked into the process, isn't it?
Totally. Everyone who's ever built anything worthwhile failed along the way, probably multiple times. The goal isn't to magically avoid failure. It's to fail in ways that teach you something, that move you forward. Fail smarter next time.
Okay, fear number 2. What will other people think? Oh man, this one hits hard for a lot of folks.
Right.
What's your family going to say if you quit that good job? Your friends, your colleagues. That potential judgment can feel absolutely paralyzing.
It really can. But here's the thing. People are going to have opinions about you no matter what you do. They'll judge you for playing it safe just as easily as they'll judge you for taking a risk. So wouldn't you rather be judged for having the courage to build a future that actually excites you?
That's a good point.
The people who truly matter in your life, they'll respect your growth, your bravery, and the rest. Honestly, their opinions aren't really your burden to carry.
Okay, number 3. I just don't know enough to start.
Yeah.
Oh, the classic imposter syndrome. It feels so real, but man, is it a liar.
Total liar. Absolutely nobody knows everything they need to know when they start something new and ambitious. Every single expert out there started as a complete beginner who just decided to move forward anyway.
You don't need the whole roadmap figured out. You don't need all the answers up front. You just need enough information, enough clarity to take that next logical, intentional step.
Right. And the one after that. Momentum builds from doing, not from waiting until you feel perfectly qualified or ready. Because that day might never come.
Exactly. And the harsh reality is staying stuck might feel familiar, maybe even safer in the moment, but it's rarely actually safer in the long run. It has a huge cost. Your time, your energy, your untapped potential, it all just sort of drains away.
So if you feel that weight, if you hear that quiet little voice inside, the one that keeps whispering, there has to be more than this, please listen to it. That's not weakness talking. That's your deeper self trying to break through, signaling it's time for a change.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about something really fundamental, the limitation of the standard 9-to-5 model that I think a lot of people don't fully clock until they feel boxed in by, and that's the income ceiling. Yeah, it seems so basic, but the implications are massive. As long as the main way you make money is by trading your hours for dollars, you will always hit a hard limit on how much you can earn.
You can work more hours, sure. You can maybe negotiate a higher hourly rate or salary, climb that ladder.
Yeah.
But look, there are only 24 hours in a day. You can only physically sell so many of them. There's just a natural cap you cannot breach.
And it's not just the cap, is it? It's that the second you stop actively working, those hours, maybe you're sick, you take a vacation, you leave the job, the income just stops cold.
Right.
And this is the piece that traditional education, traditional career advice, it just rarely touches on. They teach you how to be a better employee, how to be more efficient within the existing system. They don't teach you how to build an income stream that isn't directly dependent on your constant personal effort.
And this trap, it actually gets kind of more dangerous the more successful you become within it, doesn't it? Like you get a raise, maybe a big one, fantastic. But often that just means you're now earning more money to afford a more expensive version of the exact same constraint.
Lifestyle inflation. You upgrade the car, the house, your spending habits, and suddenly you need that higher salary just to keep everything afloat. You're still completely locked into the structure, maybe even more dependent on it than before because the stakes feel higher.
It's this weird loop. It feels like progress because the numbers are bigger. But often it's just, like you said, a gilded cage, a slightly nicer version of the same trap.
Yeah.
That's why you hear stories, right? People making 6 figures, sometimes multiple 6 figures, and they're still living paycheck to paycheck. The model itself, trading time for money, it just wasn't designed to scale your income and your freedom together.
So what's the alternative then? What do we see from people who build, real wealth and maybe more importantly, real freedom? They don't primarily think in terms of hours worked. They think in terms of value creation and, crucially, leverage. They're asking totally different questions.
Instead of just, how do I earn more per hour? They're asking things like, how can I create something valuable one time that has the potential to keep earning for me again and again?
Or how can I build a system, an asset, something that generates income even when I'm sleeping or on vacation or focused on something else?
Yeah, the core shift is getting away from selling your limited time and moving towards selling value that can be delivered or accessed multiple times without you having to be personally involved every single time.
Think about the examples, right? Someone writes a book, the work is up front, but the royalties can come in for years. Someone creates an online course, built once, sold potentially thousands of times, building a software tool, starting a YouTube channel that earns ad revenue 24/7, an e-commerce store with automated fulfillment.
Investing in assets that generate passive income, like dividends or rental income. These are all forms of leverage. You put in the work, maybe significant work up front,
Right.
but the thing you create, the asset, the system, it keeps working for you, keeps generating income, largely decoupled from your direct hourly input.
It's not some kind of magic bullet, it's just a different strategy. It's based on understanding that your time is the ultimate finite resource. Trading it directly for money, 1 hour at a time, is probably the most expensive long-term deal you can make when it comes to your freedom.
So the real mindset shift here isn't just about finding a better paying job. It's about fundamentally asking, how can I start detaching my income from the hours I physically work? How can I stop relying solely on selling my time?
Because that's where true financial freedom and the life flexibility that comes with it really starts to open up. When your income isn't chained directly to your schedule day in, day out.
Okay, let's peel back another layer of this trap. And this one. This one might be the trickiest, the most insidious, because on the surface, it doesn't even feel bad. It feels good, even. This is what people often call the golden cage.
Yes, the golden cage. It's that weird paradox, isn't it? The more comfortable your life gets within that traditional 9 to 5 structure, the harder it becomes to even imagine leaving it. You know, you're earning a decent salary, maybe you upgraded your apartment or bought a house, you can afford to go out, take nice holidays, drive a better car. Nothing feels objectively wrong.
Right. You're not necessarily miserable. You're probably not in crisis mode. You're meeting your responsibilities. But somewhere deep down, that little whisper is still there. Is this it?
Yeah.
You might not feel truly fulfilled or free, but hey, things are comfortable.
And that comfort, man, it's dangerous. It doesn't feel like a cage because, well, it's gilded. It looks and feels a lot like conventional success. Stability, predictability, routine. You pay your bills on time. Maybe you're saving a bit. You can splurge occasionally. What's not to like?
But the cost is often hidden, isn't it? Your time is almost completely accounted for. Your energy is often totally drained just maintaining the lifestyle that your salary supports. And those dreams you used to have, those bigger ideas, they become someday projects, always pushed off, because there's just no bandwidth left.
Exactly. You're not suffering quite enough to feel like you have to make a drastic change, but you're also not really growing or actively building towards something that truly aligns with who you are or what you want. You're just comfortably surviving, or maybe even comfortably thriving, but on a path someone else laid out for you.
And the longer you stay in that comfort zone, the scarier it feels to risk disrupting it, even if you know deep down that disruption is exactly what you need to build the life you actually crave.
And this cage, it gets built slowly, doesn't it? Tiny little steps you barely notice. You take the job that seems safe, responsible, then you start buying things because that feels like what successful people do. You get used to that regular paycheck hitting your account. You build your whole life, your mortgage, your car payments, your monthly budget, your routines around that specific income level and that predictable schedule.
And boom, before you know it, your identity gets tangled up in it. Your job title, your bills, your routine, and then the real fear kicks in hard. What if I lose all this stuff I've worked for? What if I try something new and it completely fails and I end up worse off? Maybe I should just be grateful for what I have.
So you stay, even when that inner voice, the one that remembers you wanted something bigger, something different, keeps nudging you.
And it's not just about the money, is it? The cage has social bars too. Expectations. Your parents are proud of your stable career. Your friends might seem a bit envious of your salary or your benefits. Your colleagues understand your place in the pecking order. There's a certain respect that comes with fitting in.
Absolutely. And the fear of letting those people down, the fear of their judgment if you suddenly veer off the well-trodden path, the fear of looking like a failure in their eyes, that adds some serious reinforcement to the cage. It keeps you quiet, keeps you playing it safe, keeps you towing the line of what everyone else considers successful.
But here's a thought I find really challenging, in a good way. Is it really starting over if you decide to leave that cage? Or is it maybe finally starting on your own path? Isn't it just walking away from a version of success that was never truly designed for you anyway?
That's powerful. The golden cage really forces you to choose. It teaches you subtly to value comfort, familiarity, and what other people think, often over your own inner clarity, your desire for freedom, and what feels truly aligned for you.
But once you see it clearly, once you understand that comfortable doesn't automatically equal fulfilled or free, you have a genuine choice. Stay in the safety, the predictability, or step into the inevitable discomfort that comes with building something new, something that's truly yours.
And we have to remember, right, real growth, meaningful change, it always happens outside the comfort zone. Always. Stepping through that door, even though it feels scary, that's where your next level is waiting.
So, okay, let's shift to the other side of this. The people who do manage to navigate this, who successfully build lives and careers outside that traditional 9 to 5 box, what do they know? What are they doing differently? Because it's usually not just luck, right? Or inheriting a fortune for most of them. They're playing a different game altogether.
That's exactly it. They're playing a different game. Not necessarily working harder, although often they do, especially at first. But they are definitely working differently. And once you start to understand the rules they play by, you begin to see opportunities you might have missed before.
Let's break down some of those core principles. First one seems to be they focus on ownership, not just earning an income.
Yeah, this is fundamental. Most people spend their careers chasing the next raise, the better title, a higher salary. The focus is currently on the income number tied to their effort or position. But people building long-term wealth and freedom, they think in terms of equity. They're asking, what can I create, build, or invest in that gives me a piece of the action, an actual ownership stake?
Because ownership gives you leverage, right? The work you do today can keep paying you back tomorrow, next year, maybe even long after you stop working on it directly. Through dividends, royalties, appreciation, that's how you build actual wealth, not just temporary income.
Exactly. Second big principle. They think about multiplying their money, not just earning it. When most people get paid, what do? They spend it, maybe they save a portion. People building freedom think differently. They look at money as a tool to create more money.
So they're constantly asking, okay, I have this dollar. Where can I put it so it has the best chance of turning into $2 or 5 or 10 down the line? They don't wait until they feel rich to start investing or building assets. They start early, even small, but consistently. They get the power of compound growth, not just financially, but with skills, networks, opportunities too.
Third, and this one is maybe the biggest differentiator, they focus on building systems that can run, at least partially, without them. Most people in a standard job are the system. If they stop showing up, the work stops, the income stops.
Right.
People who escape that actively build systems that can operate somewhat independently of their constant hour-by-hour involvement. This could mean hiring a team, creating automated online processes, developing software that solves a problem, building content libraries, investing passively.
The goal is always to decouple their personal time and presence from the income generation. If money can still flow even when you're not actively on the clock, that's a huge indicator you're building real freedom.
And fourth, kind of underpinning all of this, is something simpler but maybe more profound. They bet on themselves. They have this core belief, often developed over time, in their own ability to learn, to adapt, to figure things out as they go.
They don't wait around for someone else to give them permission or validate their ideas. They take calculated risks. They invest in their own education, their own skills, often before anyone else sees their potential. They trust their capacity to build something, even if they don't have every single step mapped out perfectly from the start. That self-belief, that willingness to be the first investor in their own future, that really separates creators from consumers.
So when you boil it down, the core difference often seems to be the time horizon. Most people operate on a pretty short loop. Work this week, get paid Friday, spend it, repeat. People building freedom operate on much longer loops, build something valuable now, reap the rewards later, invest now, let it grow over time. Maybe take a short-term hit or sacrifice now for a much bigger long-term gain.
Their effort isn't just about surviving the next pay cycle. It's directed towards building things that last with assets, systems, skills, relationships. Building freedom.
And the really encouraging part, you absolutely do not need to be wealthy or have some secret handshake to start thinking and acting this way.
You just need to stop seeing your current job as the end-all, be-all, the finish line, and start seeing it perhaps as a launch pad, a way to fund the transition to something else.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground. The origins, the mindset traps, the inquiry limits, the comfort cage, how people who escape think differently. Now let's get really practical. How do you actually start doing this? How do you begin playing that different game, building your escape route, while you might still be holding down a full-time 9 to 5?
Yeah, because let's face it, quitting cold turkey tomorrow, that's just not realistic or advisable for most people. You've got bills, rent, or a mortgage, responsibilities. And that is totally okay. This isn't about encouraging reckless behavior. It's about building a solid bridge, right? A deliberate step-by-step path from where you are now to where you ultimately want to be.
All right, so let's outline some of those practical steps drawing from these principles.
Hmm.
Step one seems to be redefine your current job. Start seeing it primarily as a funding source, not your entire identity.
This is huge. We get so attached to our job titles, don't we? I'm a project manager, I'm a nurse, I'm an accountant. And while your profession is part of who you are, in the specific context of building freedom, think of your job as your current lead investor. Its primary purpose right now is to cover your living costs, maybe fund some learning on the side, and essentially buy you the time and stability you need to build something bigger.
Yeah, when you frame it like that, as a tool, as a means to an end, building your future, rather than the sum total of who you are or what you're worth, it starts to lose some of its emotional grip on you.
Definitely. Okay, step 2. Create a clear financial buffer. Trying to build something new, something risky, while you're constantly stressed about paying next month's bills, that's incredibly hard, almost impossible. Freedom requires a foundation of stability so you can take those calculated risks with more confidence.
So start small if you have to. Build up an emergency fund. Aim for at least 3, maybe ideally 6 months of essential living expenses. Take a hard look at your spending. Where can you cut back on non-essentials, things that aren't really aligned with this bigger goal? Redirect that saved money into your Launchpad fund. This could be for tools, courses, initial inventory, or just peace of mind. That buffer isn't just safety, it's literally buying you freedom, but with a plan.
Step 3. Choose one skill you can start monetizing outside your regular job. Just one to start. This is all about building momentum and, crucially, proving to yourself that you can earn money independently.
Think about it. What do people already ask you for help with? What skills do you use at work that someone else might pay for on a freelance basis? Or maybe something you're just genuinely curious about learning and could offer as a service. Pick one thing. Maybe it's writing, editing, graphic design, tutoring, coding help, social media management, coaching, even making and selling crafts online. And just start offering it, even if it's small scale at first. Earning that very first dollar outside your paycheck, that's a massive psychological win.
Huge. Okay, step 4, reinvent your schedule. You probably don't need to magically find 10 extra hours a week. What you need is one consistently protected, focused hour each day, or most days, where you're undisturbed and working solely on building your exit strategy.
Do an audit of your time. Seriously. Track it for a few days. Where's it going? Mindless scrolling, too much Netflix, unproductive commutes or meetings. Can you get up an hour earlier before the chaos starts? Stay up an hour later. Use your lunch break more intentionally. That single hour dedicated to writing that blog post, building that website, learning that skill, researching your market, making those outreach calls, that's your freedom window. Guard it fiercely.
Yes, protect that time. And step 5, learn to build as you earn. While you're bringing in money from your job and maybe starting to earn a bit from that side skill, consciously start shifting towards building leverage. Ask yourself, how could I turn the service into a product? Or how could I serve many people at once with this knowledge instead of just one at a time?
So this is where you move beyond just trading time for money, even in your side hustle, and start building assets or systems. Maybe you create a small digital product, an ebook, some templates, a mini course. Maybe you start building an online audience around your expertise, a blog, a podcast, a social media channel. Maybe you package your coaching into a group program. Or look for ways to automate parts of your process. Start small, experiment, be consistent. Your job provides the funding. This is you building the escape engine in the background.
Exactly. The path out usually isn't about some dramatic burn the bridges moment. It's much more about having a clear plan, that financial buffer, that dedicated time window, and crucially, like growing belief built through small wins that you can actually build something that works for you.
Because you absolutely can. And as that side project, that system, starts to grow, maybe eventually earning enough to match or even surpass your job income, that's when you achieve real choice. A choice that comes from a place of freedom and possibility, not from fear or desperation. So as we kind of bring this deep dive to a close, let's just pause for a second. What we've really been exploring here, looking through all this material, it wasn't just about jobs or money or business models, was it? It felt like it was about something deeper. Choice.
Yeah, absolutely. Freedom, which really boils down to having the ability to choose. Choose how you spend your time, your energy, your most valuable, non-renewable resources, and ultimately choose the kind of life you actually want to build.
We've seen how that traditional 9 to 5 path, while it offers stability for some, wasn't really designed with your individual dreams or your ultimate freedom as the primary goal. It came from a different time, served a different purpose, keeping a certain kind of industrial and economic machine running smoothly. And for a lot of people, the sheer comfort and familiarity of that system is, ironically, what keeps them feeling stuck.
But now, hopefully, you have a clearer picture. You understand its origins a bit better, the psychological hooks, the built-in limitations, and just having that awareness, that's incredibly powerful, isn't it? Changes things.
It really does.
Yeah.
Because once you truly grasp that the default system isn't necessarily set up to maximize your personal freedom, you kind of stop waiting for permission, don't you? You stop wondering if you're allowed to want something different or try something new. You start thinking and moving and building more deliberately on your own terms.
This conversation, this deep dive, maybe it's a reset moment for you. Perhaps you're not ready to hand in your notice tomorrow, and like we said, that's totally okay. This isn't about pushing anyone into reckless decisions. It's about encouraging intentional, informed change.
But the absolute key is to start. Start somewhere. Start small, maybe. Start messy. But start building that bridge. Because every single day you spend only trading your time for survival is essentially a day you're not investing in creating the future you truly desire.
Yeah.
The people who end up living life more on their own terms, they didn't wait for the perfect conditions to be handed to them, they decided. And then they started building.
So if any of this has resonated, if you felt that quiet pull towards something more, if that little voice inside has been getting harder to ignore, please pay attention to it.
You're not broken for feeling that way. You're probably just outgrowing a system, a container, that was never designed to hold the full expression of your potential.
And recognizing that, that's actually a really positive, powerful first step.
Because ultimately, what you're building isn't just wealth, is it? You're building freedom. And from that freedom flows clarity. From clarity grows confidence. And from that confidence comes the power to finally create a life that feels authentically, unapologetically yours.
This has been the Deep Dive from Leap Academy. We're all about exploring the ideas and strategies that help you change yourself first so you can build that life of purpose and freedom. If this conversation struck a chord, maybe share it with someone else who might need to hear this message today. And definitely subscribe to the Leap Academy podcast. Stay tuned and keep growing with us.
Because remember, your next level, it really begins the moment you decide you're done playing small. Until next time, keep building, keep believing, and maybe, just maybe, take the leap.
Thanks so much for listening to the Leap Academy podcast. We hope you'll join us again for more deep dives into topics designed to help you grow and leap forward.